What is going on, everybody? Listen, Sixers game versus the Pelicans tonight. I'm with my boy Tiago, and you're watching the post game show for the Painted Lines. Hope everyone is having a good night because the Sixers did not have one. Let's be honest with that one. Sixers offense struggled throughout the game. Defense was pretty atrocious with the second unit, but we're gonna get into it. Tiago, how you doing, man?
Yeah, man. This is not the way that I wanted to spend my Friday night, to be honest with you. Had better plans tonight if I knew this was going to be the outcome of today's events. The Sixers played another horrific offensive game against one of the NBA's absolute worst defenses. And I think we can talk about, Steven mentioned on the chat here, disinterested and sluggish.
Yeah,
I think that has part to do with it, absolutely. Embiid did not have his best game, obviously, but this is not the first time the Sixers looked that bad offensively here recently. And are we talking about a trend, or are we just talking about a team that's just kind of like trying to coast into the postseason? So, we can talk about it in more detail, but this was not expected. I thought the Sixers would be up more for a game like tonight with Zion Friday night. Especially off a game that they had against Boston where they looked really good on both ends. So, we'll see here. But this is not good. This is not good once again by the Sixers. No questions asked.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I consistently saw, and I don't think it's necessarily a trend that's going to happen. I think Embiid was missing a lot of easy shots that he typically makes. You saw a lot of turnovers happen throughout, especially in the fourth quarter. Lots of turnovers from Shake, lots of turnovers from Ben. Overall, just not good offensive play at the end to win you the game. I mean, they were in it till the last 4 minutes I saw. We were down by 8 with 4 minutes left to go in the game, and they just weren't able to get the offense going. And overall, the reasons why they were down is because Zion was just going at that bench unit for basically the whole third quarter and even some of the fourth as well. So it kind of surprised me how long Doc left that whole bench unit out there. And made me think do you think it's because they have that game against OKC tomorrow, they have that back-to-back, that he's trying to get his starters a little bit more rest coming into the fourth quarter?
Nah, I really don't think that's what it is, Justin. I think that Doc is pretty set on this bench rotation. So we talk about Mike Scott, we talk about Shake Milton, Fergie Korkmaz, Dwight Howard, and Matisse Thybulle. He's been running that lineup pretty consistently here the last few games. And he got caught again tonight. And it's not the first time his bench unit has been bad. It's been bad for a long stretch of the season. And he refuses to break up Joel and Ben. He wants to keep that duo together. He wants to maximize that duo together on the court. I understand their output together offensive this year has been really good, but you got to have Tobias Harris out there, man. You have to have Tobias Harris out there. And you just can't have that entire bench unit in the entire, it was towards the end of the third quarter, I think you're talking about. End of the third quarter, early fourth quarter.
Beginning of the fourth as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when Stan Van Gundy put Zion back out there. And to your point, I mean, the Sixers had absolutely no answers to Zion with that unit, to the point where, Dwight Howard took another one of his embarrassing cheap shots at Zion that got him another technical foul, which must be technical foul number 50 on the year. We talked about this in the past. He's lost complete faith in Tyrese Maxey. He does not trust Paul Reed. He does not trust Isaiah Joe. It's the same lineup out there. They do not look good. We can talk more about detail like an individual player performance, but they got to do something with that second unit, man. You just can't have that against average teams, which was tonight. I can't even imagine what that would look like against a team like Brooklyn that can actually stagger, Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. They have no shot against a team like that. Absolutely no shot.
Yeah, and Dale says it right here that the fact that people think we can beat Brooklyn's how is this even worded, Dale? that people think we can beat Brooklyn's are absolutely embarrassing. That is not a sentence. I tried to shout this guy out, like saying, look at this is a great comment, and I can't even read it. That's terrible.
I get what he's trying to say.
I can understand what he's trying to say, but come on, man. Okay. But one thing I want to say is I'm curious to see, is that bench lineup going to look better once you get George Hill playing with this team? I do think it's possible that the unit can look a little bit more sound, and maybe you get a little bit more consistent shooting with Shake then running the 2 guard in that bench unit rather than running the 1, and then you have George Hill come in and maybe turns the ball over less mistakes, more room for error for a guy like Ben, because you're going to have George Hill playing more point guard minutes probably than Shake typically is.
But he's yeah. So I get like the George Hill part of it. I even wrote about it. We've talked about it. Like George Hill is a real facilitator.
Yeah, for sure.
Shake Milton's not. What you see from Shake Milton out there is pretty bad. You know, the turnovers. He does not see the court really well. He drives to score.
2 turnovers tonight. 2 fouls. -7 on the plus minus.
So he drives to score. He does not see the court well. He's not a really particular dynamic passer. And here's where I really kind of lose it with Shake and the George Hill thing is that, okay, you're saying that you're going to play Shake Milton more off the ball, right?
Yeah.
He's shooting 18% of the year in wide open threes. 18%. So,
I do think that that's just an off year because realistically, if you look at it long term numbers wise, he's one of the best catch and shoot shooters in the NBA, and he has been since he came in the league and has been in college and in high school as well. So I do think those numbers are just kind of Like I think if he's consistently in a role in that 2 guard role once George Hill comes back in, I do think he could play better. And I think his numbers will go up in that territory.
So I agree with you. I think that he's a better shooter than what the numbers suggest. I don't think he's as good of a shooter as we saw last year.
Yeah.
So I think he falls somewhere between last year and this year, which is about league average, right? So 35, 36%, which is fine. I'm okay with that. The question I have is, do you trust that kind of performance in the postseason? Because we can go on the defensive end as well, and Shake Milton on the defensive end has been bad, has been really bad. And you saw a kid today, we talked about this during our draft coverage, Kyra Lewis. I mean, Lewis abused him pretty badly. And that's kind of what a real point guard kind of looks like in the NBA. Yeah, and I think it speaks to RC's point. Like, Shake is not a point guard. You know, the Doc's trying to have him operate this pick and roll offense, which I understand what they see in him. He has great feel how to keep this dribble alive and keep the defender's back pocket, and he has a nice little mid-range game. Mm-hmm. But, man, you're not going to run pick-and-roll offense with Shake Milton in the postseason, or else you just might as well pack your bags and go home, because that's just not the way you're going to win in the playoffs. So I struggle to see a little bit where Shake fits in the postseason rotation. Again, I do think he's going to get minutes. I think his minutes are going to be reduced with George Hill in the lineup. But in terms of like how he's going to drive wins in the postseason, I still struggle to see where that's going to come from. So,
no, I honestly I don't disagree with you at all. Like it's and that's why I did make the comments about when George Hill does finally get minutes on the court. I do think that is going to dramatically change the bench unit and can dramatically change how effective those minutes are when you have bench guys in there. And I think Austin was saying this in our Discord earlier that who really knows, like, we don't know the exact numbers and how Doc is going to bring in the bench guys once postseason starts. But I think George Hill will make a very big difference, especially in minutes where Dwight Howard's on the court with him. Let's
just hope he's healthy, right? So there's been a lot of talks about he might not even play for the next few weeks. I do a little bit skeptical about his health. I hope that he's okay. I hope that this injury is not going to linger, but it's a little bit concerning the fact that we're talking here about a few more weeks with it's a hand injury, right? So
it's his, and that's the problem. It's his shooting. I think it's his shooting thumb. It's his shooting hand.
Yeah, and he's a guy who has shot the ball really, really well over the last 2 years. Definitely. So you're talking about like catch and shoot. He's been one of the best catch and shoot guys in the NBA. So if that element of his game is not there, it's going to be a problem. But, I guess we'll have to see that.
something I want to address. I'm seeing a lot of like comments about it saying Shake's not playing in the playoffs. I see Shake is overvalued. I see Justin overrating Shake's shooting ability. I can promise you right now, I'm not overrating his shooting ability. I mean, I'm looking back at the years right now. Field goal percentage of assisted shots last year shot 87.9% from three and 92.9% from three the year before that. And that's on assisted threes. Like, hold on, let me make sure. Percentage of field goals assisted. Or no, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm reading that completely wrong. Screw that stat. Never mind. That's percentage of field goals assisted, not percentage of shots assisted. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, he shot well last year.
He was in when we did our evaluation of players coming into the season this year. Me and Dibes, I remember specifically, did a video on Shake Milton. And Shake Milton has been in like the top 95 to 97 percentile in 3-point shooters on catch and shoot threes. Basically, every year he's been in the league, and then also when he was in college and in high school. So he's got an amazing track record in being a really good off-ball 3-point shooter. And we even saw that last year when Ben went down and he had to come in and play big minutes in the playoffs and in the regular season. So I think I don't think he's overvalued as a shooter. I think his numbers have been bad. But I think overall as a player coming into the season, we had really high expectations that haven't been met as much as we would like to see. I think that's normal. He's a young player. We thought he was going to adjust a little bit easier to this role and as a point guard because he did run the point guard for the Blue Coats. He ran the point guard when he was in college as well at SMU. I just think his decision-making, we talked about this, his decision-making isn't as good as a legitimate point guard as it is as just a scorer. And I think that's why he'll play better in that two-guard role next to a guy like George Hill, who is a legitimate playmaker, who's played big minutes and playoff minutes with really good teams. And so I do think there's going to be a dramatic difference once George Hill comes into that role. So let's move on, though. Let's talk about this game a little bit more. And let's get into Joel Embiid. Obviously, Joel did not have an amazing game tonight. 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 for 16 from the field. Not what we're used to seeing from the guy. Missed a lot of easy jumpers, it seemed like. Or I shouldn't say easy. Jumpers that he typically makes look easy. So, yeah, what did you see tonight? Did you see anything that maybe could have been attributed to that? Or do you think it was just an off night for him?
Yeah, so anytime that Joel Embiid got in trouble this year with the jump shot where it wasn't falling, I thought that his way of getting back into the game was facing this guy up, taking him off the dribble, and either getting to the free throw line or just kind of getting to the rim. He didn't do much of that tonight, and I thought it was really interesting. And even said on the broadcaster, kept saying that, just face him up, take him off the dribble, and get to the rim. And I don't know if this is Joel's way of saying, listen, I need a little bit of a break, or if this knee talking, or if it's just the matchup. Steve Adams is a big, strong guy. And this guy's had problems in the past. So it could be a combination of those things. Listen, after the game that Joel had against Boston, it is really tough to put any type of blame on him or any type of load on him. He could have just been saying, listen, I don't want to have to deal with tonight's game. The part that really worries me with the Sixers is how dependent they are on Joel in isolation and Tobias in isolation. Mm-hmm. And there's very few actions that they run off those two guys when they're in isolation. So, for instance, when Joel's facing up this guy and the court spaced, you don't see a lot of cutting. You don't see a lot of motion from the rest of the guys on the floor. And these are the type of things that can create other offensive alternatives to when Joel is struggling with his shot. I mean, it's something that I have been kind of noticing a lot with Doc's offense. The ball a lot of times sticks, and the players tend to stand around often. So, again, this is not something that is consistently there, but when the Sixers get in trouble, it seems to be where they kind of fall into the trap of offensive kind of like stagnant. So something to keep an eye on, man, because they are a very isolation-driven offense, and Doc Rivers is a coach who's always enabled his stars in isolation. But the Sixers don't have, Kawhi Leonard. They don't have peak Paul Pierce on the roster. These are different guys, different types of shot makers. So, we'll see where that goes.
I will say, though, I do think the isolation ball has worked. It just looks terrible when it's not working.
It looks awful.
It looks awful. It looks amazing when it works, and when you have the stars that are you can just throw the ball to and it's a bucket every time. Like Tobias, there's been most nights, honestly, where he's been able to be that clutch player at the end of games, and same with Joel. I think overall tonight, though, it wasn't even about like the clutch buckets. It was just overall the isolation things. They were getting their shots and getting open shots. At least Joel was. It just wasn't going down.
But here's where I lose it with Doc, right? Because if you look at not lose it. I don't want to be too overcritical with Doc, but this is kind of where I get a little bit confused. We have to
remember that it's one game. It's one game.
Right. Yeah, I'm not making. This is not like a comment on Doc's overall coaching, but for tonight, if I'm looking at the Pelicans defense and I'm looking straight at the numbers, so the Pelicans give up 38 3-point attempts per game.
Yeah,
the Sixers took 31. The Pelicans give up 39% shooting from deep, which is the worst in the NBA. Right. Yeah. You have to look at those numbers and you have to think to yourself, we have an opportunity here to get a ton of open looks tonight. And then I look at the box score, Seth Curry, 2 3-point attempts. Danny Green, 5 3-point attempts. These are the type of games where you got to bombs away, man, absolutely bombs away. So, but you're not going to get that when, 4 guys are staying around. They're waiting for Joel to do his thing or Tobias to back his guy in the paint. So, yeah, I didn't think it was a really particularly great kind of coaching game by Doc. And I had said the same thing after the Memphis game. So, now I don't want to be too critical because it's clear Doc's a good coach. It's clear the Sixers are a well-coached team.
Yeah.
But there are things that pop up every now and then that makes me, think twice about,
question it a little bit. I got
you.
Right. Yeah, I respect that and I get that. I do want to get into the Zion Williamson and he ended tonight with 37 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. Crazy night, 15 for 28. Took a lot of shots for the team, but just seemed to have his way at certain times in this game. Personally, it seemed to be him having his way against our second unit when he was in there towards the end of the third quarter and in the beginning of the fourth. Is that the same thing you saw? What did you see? Where was he getting those buckets from, and who was he getting them on?
Yeah, Zion is something I've never seen before, man. Yeah, I've never seen a guy that big move that quick, to be that low to the ground, and to be that explosive and sudden with the ball in his hands. And if you watch his games and you study his game, he takes guys off the dribble and just absolutely murders them. His ability to finish at the rim with the left hand is something that is really remarkable. And I thought that the Sixers were aware of that. I thought they did a pretty good job of contesting him at the rim. And the Sixers have a couple of big guys, Joel, Ben, who can make life hard. But still, so even when he's not finishing at the rim, he's still drawing a ton of contact, getting the free throw line a ton. It's a real problem. I was talking to somebody I know that I think that he might go down as one of the NBA's greatest scorers by the time this is all said and done. Because I don't think anybody has real answers to what he does on the court. And then on top of the fact that really he's playing alongside Brandon Ingram, who for some reason thinks he's the best shot creator on the team. So it's remarkable. The guy, Zion will go back-to-back buckets, and Brandon Ingram will decide, what, now it's my turn to do my thing. And he's kind of, it makes me wonder, are we sure these guys fit together? I don't think they do. And he's also playing alongside, James Johnson, who's not a floor spacer, Adams, who's not a floor spacer. So he's doing all this stuff with a very restrictive roster. And it's quite remarkable. So I thought, for considering what the Sixers were dealing with tonight, I thought they did a pretty good job on Zion. But at the end of the day, you look at the box score, he goes off for 30-some points. It was tough sledding with him tonight.
Yeah, something that I kept seeing from Zion that it kind of gave me like LeBron James vibes a little bit, like with how he was getting to the rim and how he was using his
Yeah,
body. Like he was using that power, speed, and athleticism kind of thing. Where when he was getting to the rim, he was using that 285. Let's remind you guys,
yeah,
6'6", 285, ridiculous. But he's using that frame to bully even big men out of the way, and he's got such long arms that he can hook it around and move his arms around and get
yeah.
up with that athleticism. So it's like it's really hard, no matter how big you are, if you're 7 foot or if you're the same size as him and just strong. Like Matisse Thybulle is the same height as is damn near the same height as Zion Williamson, but not nearly the same size as Zion Williamson.
No,
Was just getting bullied by Zion with when that bench unit was out there. And Dwight Howard, honestly, just not athletic enough to stay with a guy like that.
no.
So when that unit was out there, Zion was giving them buckets. Simple as that.
And not only that, so I think what you brought up is right on, spot on. And when you look at the box score, right? So you look at offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
The Pelicans had 10. So
Mhm.
part of that is just Zion's like explosiveness by the rim,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also the fact that he draws so much attention that guys converge on him, and it leaves all types of offensive rebound opportunities behind. So he generates everything for that offense. Everything. He's a great passer, extremely well aware, very smart passer,
Yeah.
and he moves very well off the ball. So he's always finding open passing lanes where he can get the ball and go up with it. So he's a remarkable offensive player. On the defensive, it's an entire different story. And I thought that the Sixers didn't do enough to expose them out on the perimeter. So again, it goes to what we talked about early in the podcast of like being very stationary.
Yeah.
But when you put this guy out on the perimeter, you see how stiff and slow he looks. And other teams have exploited him. Like Utah, for example, has kind of taken him apart on the perimeter. So
Yeah, and tonight that's what's hard about the Sixers team is that they don't necessarily have that perimeter, like super perimeter shot creator, like a guard who can be out there creating offense, or at least to the level that some teams have. Just like with the Nets when they beat up against the Pelicans the other day, like they have 3 or 4 guys on that team that can really break down a defender on that, break down a defender on the perimeter. And our offense just isn't built like that. Our offense is built tough and built to go down low in the post. And being that the Pelicans do have guys like Steven Adams, Jackson Hayes, Zion Williamson, who are all big bodies who can really not make it tough on you always, but make you have to work down low to get to your spots. And that's what I saw a lot of. I saw James Johnson guarding Tobias Harris pretty well most of this game, holding Tobias Harris to – I put my phone away – holding Tobias Harris to 23 points. 23 points obviously is good, but that was on 16 shots. And realistically, most of the game it seemed like Tobias was having a hard time until the end when he kind of got his rhythm in. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is the Sixers offense isn't built in the best way to beat a team like the Pelicans. Even though I will say the Pelicans' defense is terrible, the Sixers' offense is not built to beat it in the way other teams are.
And that's what I mean. Like the Sixers have always had an unorthodox roster, right?
Yeah.
So you try to run an orthodox roster with a standard pick and roll, post up kind of system, I do think has its limitations. And when you talk about having perhaps the MVP of the league, right, Joel Embiid, and you're still like not even a top 10 offense in the NBA, I don't know. Like I don't know how many teams have had the MVP of the league and not be a top 10 offense. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's
and
it's a little bit concerning.
Part of that is because they've been in and out with pieces this year. Like when it comes to having a consistent offense to be able to rank, if you really think about it, I feel like every time someone comes back, every someone leaves, or every time this is the problem. This is like the main thing here with this team, with this offense, is that it has to be perfect, and that's what's scary. The scary part is for this offense to be running at full capacity, running at the best it can. You need to have the right pieces in there, and you need to have them there all the time.
Yeah.
Because as soon as one of those shooters goes, as soon as Ben Simmons goes down, as soon as Tobias Harris goes down, obviously if Joel Embiid goes down, but any of those pieces go, it's so much harder to run this kind of an offense, especially when you're in the half court trying to play that ISO ball. You become predictable if you don't have the 2 or 3 guys who can isolate the way that we have Ben, Joe, and Toby doing it. So I think that's something that may be able to get better once they consistently play with each other. It also could just be, like you said, could be just not an amazing offense, not an offense that's super creative and able to be that top 10. Like, I don't know. I think that's something we're gonna have to see, and I think
time will tell.
for real. And honestly, that's really what it is. Is time will tell. Doc has said multiple times that the reasons why they're not trying to put in new schemes and new plays is because they don't have time to practice them. And he'd rather them be running something to perfection and running something that may be more simple that they can perfect and that works, than try to do something different and just it goes to shit, realistically. So it's like, I think that's something we'll see. I'm wondering what the playoff rotations are going to be like, and I'm wondering how George Hill is going to fit in this offense. So ultimately, do you have any other takeaways for this game?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Ben chatter on the chat, right? Not a great Ben game again. A little bit better,
Ben Simmons scores 10 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds, 3 for 6 from the field, so did not take a lot of shots, but played really good really good defensively with 5 steals and 1 block, 4 for 9 from the free throw line. To me, that was some of it too. If he hits more free throws, this game looks a little bit better for him, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote about. Go ahead.
Real quick, something I do want to say, something that should be credited towards him is that he was one of the only players on this team today that had a plus. He had the best plus-minus score in this game for the Sixers.
Yeah,
he had a +5 when guys that hold on, let me make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah, everyone else who played besides Joel had a negative score.
Yeah, so I think that speaks again to his defense.
Yeah,
and also there were parts of the game where I thought he did a really good job getting out in transition, getting guys open looks in transition. That's his MO. That's his bread and butter. I wrote about this week about Ben's offensive game. I think he's becoming too reliant on that short-range floater, and I don't think that's a shot that he has it mastered, and I don't think that's a shot that's going to be a consistent offensive weapon for him, simply because he doesn't have a shooting framework, and he doesn't really have a good enough touch to have that down pat.
Yeah.
So I wrote about how he can learn from other players in the post, and perhaps work on a pump fake or footwork, whatever. But I think he's developing this habit of just setting for that short range floater may not be the best thing for him.
Yeah, and I think the other big thing about this game in particular was the like people are saying in the chat, and I was going to bring this up, the 6 turnovers at the end, a lot of them coming towards the end of the game. Just that was tough. Him and Shake did have a lot of turnovers towards the end. And obviously you're not going to win a ball game that when you're already down by 6-8 points with 4 minutes left in the game if you're turning the ball over. So that's obviously another reason that he did have this game.
The turnovers, not all turnovers are created equal. So Ben is always going to be a guy who's going to have to turn the ball over because 1, he handles the ball, and 2, he tries to make some very tough passes through small windows that when he does connect are wide open. They're wide open shots or wide open layups. So I'm okay with those. What I'm not okay with are sloppy turnovers, which he does have a few of them. Yeah, especially trying to dribble through traffic or thinks he can, speed through everybody. But again, comparing his turnovers to Shake's turnovers, I think are night and day, because Shake is just the kind of guy who's going to dribble the ball off his foot, do this kind of stuff. You're like, what are we doing here, man? So they're not all the same. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, let's work our way out of here. So do you have anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, so read the Ben Simmons piece if you guys are interested on understanding more about why he's struggling and what he can do better at. So just become a better scorer. He's done a lot of great things this year, but he needs to become a more consistent scorer, and he wasn't again tonight. And then
sorry, go ahead.
One more thing, and then just keep an eye out for our draft stuff, because we're going to start covering some guys through the draft here. I know Dives is finishing up the Eagle stuff.
Yep.
Which is wild.
We're gonna work into the Sixers stuff soon enough. So yeah, go check that out on the paintedlines.com. You can find Tiago's articles, Austin Krell, our NBA beat reporter for the Sixers. You can check out his articles about the game and more. Lots of stuff on there. And yeah, so I think tomorrow they play. Are you gonna be around tomorrow?
We'll see. I don't know yet. We'll see. All
right. Well, you may see me and Tiago tomorrow. You may just see me. We'll see what happens.
Oh, you're gonna do it yourself? Wow.
We'll see. We will see. I'm not promising that, but we'll see. Guys, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Obviously, Sixers did not catch the W tonight, so that sucks. But it is a back-to-back. Get to see more Sixers basketball against the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow. Sixers lose tonight, though, 101-94. Zion Williamson dropping a bomb of 37. Joel struggled, but we'll see. Hopefully the offensive struggles do not last in tomorrow's game. So listen, guys, we will see y'all tomorrow. Drop a like on the video, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Here's an ad, and then it'll be over. Peace out.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money.